All right, let's dive into one of the most, well, practical and, yeah, maybe a little cynical laws of power. This is a big one. It's a law that, once you really get it, can totally change the outcome of pretty much every single request you ever make. We're talking about Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude.
I mean, think about it for a second. Have you ever been there? You ask for a big favor, you lay out your whole case, maybe you even kind of nudge them, remind them of that time you helped them out. And what do you get? Crickets, silence, or just a polite but firm no. It's so frustrating, right? And it happens all the time. Well, according to this law, the problem probably wasn't even what you were asking for, it was how you were asking. See, it suggests that most of us are working from a completely flawed playbook. We have this fundamental misunderstanding of what actually makes people tick, what really drives them to help us out. So, let's really unpack this. Now, this isn't about being some kind of sneaky manipulator. It's about being a realist. The law is basically saying that if you need a favor, especially from someone with more power, reminding them of past favors or appealing to their kindness, well, that's just a losing game. The cold, hard truth is that most people are just drowning. They're drowning in their own stuff, their ambitions, their deadlines, their own problems. Your needs, no matter how important they are to you, are just background noise, unless you can find a way to make them part of their solution. And this quote from the book's Judgment just nails it. The whole secret is to completely reframe your request. You've got to stop talking about your needs and start talking about their gains. You need to figure out how your goal can actually help them achieve one of their goals. And then you make that the absolute focus. Okay, so to really see what happens when you get this wrong, like catastrophically wrong, let's look at a classic example of someone breaking this law. This is a story about how appealing to gratitude can be, and I mean this literally, a fatal mistake. So back in 14th century Italy, you've got this family, the Poggios, who were a huge help to this soldier, Castruccio Castracani, in becoming a ruler. They were allies, probably even friends, but power changes people. Fast forward a few years, and Stefano di Poggio leads a rebellion against Castruccio, and it fails. Miserably. Now, when he's captured, Stefano has a choice. He could have offered a political deal, a financial payoff, anything that would benefit the new ruler. But no, he made a fatal miscalculation. He appealed to their shared history, to their old friendship, to gratitude. And Castruccio, he listened very patiently, and then he had Stefano and his entire family executed. So you have to look at it from Castruccio's perspective, as cold as it is. Stefano wasn't a friend anymore. He was a problem that needed to be solved. And that plea for gratitude, it wasn't a nice reminder of a bond. To Castruccio, it was a reminder of a debt, a burdensome obligation. So by executing the Poggios, he wasn't just putting down a rebellion. He was brutally and efficiently wiping a debt off the books that he never ever intended to repay. Okay, so that's what happens when you appeal to the past, a total disaster. Now let's flip the script and see what happens when you appeal to the future. We're going to jump from a personal betrayal to the super high-stakes world of ancient Greek politics to see this law applied perfectly. And believe me, the stakes could not have been higher. We're talking right before the massive Peloponnesian War. Athens is a huge power, and you've got two other players, Corinth and its rival, Corcyra, who are both desperate to get Athens on their side. Whoever Athens picked was going to get a massive, game-changing advantage. And this is where you see two completely different strategies go head-to-head. First up, Corinth. They basically pulled a Stefano di Poggio. They gave this long, emotional speech about all the great things they'd done for Athens in the past, trying to guilt them into an alliance. But then came Corcyra. They barely even mentioned the past. Instead, they basically just pointed to a map and said, look, you see our navy, you see your navy, put them together and we control the seas. This isn't about yesterday. This is about guaranteeing your power for tomorrow. And the result? It wasn't even close. The Athenians voted overwhelmingly to ally with Corcyra. Now, were they being ungrateful? No, not really. They were being strategic. They understood that past favors are just memories. But the promise of dominating the seas, that was a concrete, tangible asset that served their immediate self-interest right here, right now.
All right, so we've seen a total failure and a huge success. But why does this work so well? What's the psychology going on here? Let's dig into that. Well, the answer really boils down to a single, pretty uncomfortable truth about human nature.
It's one of those truths that, honestly, we spend a lot of time and energy pretending isn't real. Look, we're all guilty of these flawed assumptions. We act like people should help us just because it's the right thing to do, or because, hey, we helped them out that one time. But the reality is, most people are completely trapped in a prison of their own wants and needs. They're fighting their own fires, worrying about their own stuff. Your crisis, to them, is just noise. It's static. Unless you can show them how solving your problem directly benefits them. And this image just illustrates the core idea so perfectly. Think of it this way. Gratitude is like a single thin thread. It's weak. It can snap under the slightest bit of pressure. But mutual self-interest? That's a thick, strong rope. It's woven together from all these different strands of benefit, which makes it super durable, super reliable. When you tie your success to their success, you're creating a bond that is just so much harder to break. And you see this play out again and again throughout history. In 17th century Japan, you had Portuguese missionaries trying to win over the emperor with promises of faith and salvation. The Dutch, on the other hand, showed up with guns and the promise of wealth. Who do you think the emperor listened to? Or on an even bigger scale, think about Genghis Khan. He was about to just flatten northern China, but his advisor didn't waste time appealing to mercy for the millions of people who were about to die. No, he appealed to pure, cold, hard greed. He just did the math and showed Genghis Khan how much tax revenue a living, working population could generate for years to come. And just like that, the land was spared.
But hold on. Like any law of power, this isn't a blunt instrument you just swing around wildly. If you apply it too crudely, it can totally backfire. A straight-up appeal to greed isn't always the right move, because sometimes a person's self-interest, well, it isn't about money or power. It's about something else entirely.
And this is the crucial reversal. Now, make no mistake, you are still appealing to their self-interest, 100%. But you have to recognize that for some people, their most valuable asset isn't in their bank account. It's their reputation. They have a deep-seated need to be seen as generous or merciful or noble. Their ego gets fed by public displays of their own goodness, not by cold, hard cash. So how do you deal with someone like that? Well, first, you have to figure out what really drives them. Are they obviously all about the money? Or do they talk a lot about their charity and their reputation? If it's the reputation, then you frame your request completely differently. It becomes an opportunity for them. It's a chance for them to show off how wonderful and generous they are to everyone. See the difference? You're not asking for a handout, you're offering them a stage. Okay, so we've covered the history, the psychology, and the big exception to the rule. Now let's bring it all home and talk about how you can actually use this in your own life, like today. So here's the real takeaway. The next time you're about to ask for anything, a raise at work, a big favor from a friend, a business partnership, just stop. Stop thinking about what you need. Instead, you have to force yourself to get inside their head. What are their pressures? What do they want? And most importantly, how can your request help them get it? You have to make it easy for them to say yes by framing your ask not as a problem for them, but as an opportunity for them. That, right there, is the true art of asking. So that's the one question you have to answer every single time. And I promise you, it'll change everything. Not just how you ask, but the results you get. The moment you shift your focus from your needs to their interests, you're going to find that a whole lot more doors start to open up for you.